This video is going to have a look at how do we construct a scatterplot. A scatterplot is a graph that shows the relationship between two variables. Now, when we are constructing a scatterplot, there are a couple of things that we need to make sure that we do in order to construct a correct scatterplot. The first one is to draw your x and your y axes. Now, we know that x is going to be along the bottom and y is going to be along the side. It's important that we are constructing them with a ruler so we get a nice straight line. When we are going ahead and then labeling and adding values onto our axes, when we're doing a scatterplot, it's important that we have our variables in the correct location. So our independent variable is going to be down the bottom, and our dependent variable is going to be along the side. So independent on x, dependent on y. It's important that those variables are in the correct locations. Once we've done our x and y axes, we want to add our values, so our numbers, to cover the range in our data set. When we're adding those numbers onto the x and y axes, they have to be evenly spaced apart so we've got a consistent scale. The scatterplot will not be accurate if our scale along our x and y axes are not correct. After we've numbered them, we want to label them. So let the person who's reading the graph know what it is. So it might be age and height. So you'd label age and height on the x and y axes, giving it a correct label. Once you've set up the x and y axes, you want to go ahead and plot the points. So plot the x and y point and put a dot where they intersect in the scatter plot. Once you have gone ahead and added all your dots or your points from your data onto the scatter plot, the last thing you need to do is to be putting a title. Now, it is important that you remember to be putting a title in to let the reader know what the graph is about. So once you have completed all of those steps, your scatter plot will be finished. So let's have a look at how do you construct a scatter plot. So in our example, Mary sells business shirts in a department store. She always records a number of different styles of shirts sold during the day. The table below shows her sales over 1 week. So we've got price and we've got the number of shirts sold, and we want to put that information onto the scatter plot. So the first thing we need to do is add in our x and y axes. Before we can go ahead and label our x and y axes, we need to decide what is the independent and what is the dependent variable. In this case, the number of shirts sold is going to be dependent on the price. So our independent variable is going to be price. Our dependent variable is going to be the number of shirts sold. So on our x-axis, it's going to be price. And on our y-axis, it's going to be number sold. So now that we know our axes, we can go ahead and add in our scaled numbers. And our price needs to go from 14 to 35. So we can start at 14 and go up in groups of 2. Our y-axis, our number of shirts sold, needs to go from 11 to 22. So we can start at 10 and go up in groups of 2 there as well. So let's go ahead and add in our numbers onto our x and y axes. So now that our scale has been added, because we haven't started at 0, we just need to add in our little symbol to indicate that they're not starting at 0 from the point of origin. And we can go ahead and we can start plotting our points. So our first point is going to be 14 and 21. So I'm going to go 14 and then up to 21 and put a dot. My next set is going to be 18 and 22. So across to 18 and up to 22, and then put another dot. Then I'm going to go for across to 20 and up to 18 because my next set is 20 and 18, and go ahead and put another dot as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and plot all my remaining points onto my scatter plot. So now that all my points from the table have been added into the scatter plot, my final step is to add a title to complete the scatter plot. And I'm going to add in my title of shirt sold at different prices. And I'm going to go ahead and underline that title so it stands out. And then my scatter plot is now complete. I've got a title, I've got an X and a Y axes that are labeled and with an even scale with all my points correctly plotted. So that's an example of how we complete a scatter plot based on a table of values to be able to graph the relationship between two variables.